My name is Jason Lee. I'm the Executive Design Director here at Agncy. We believe that within the context of the United States, there are multiple systems that have developed over the course of the lifespan of the country that are promoting certain kinds of injustice and relationships between different groups and different systems, which perpetuate a discrepancy between those who have and those who have not.
My name is Augusta Meill, and I'm Executive Director of Agncy. We're a nonprofit design consultancy that uses design to address complex social issues with an overall mission of reducing structural inequality in America. And my partner and I are designers by training and by background. As human-centered designers, we take an innately people-centered view of the world, right? We want to empathize with the needs of the individuals that we're designing for. On the other hand, when you're dealing with something as complex as urban education, there are times when the needs of the system need to mesh with the needs of the individual, especially when you're talking about a large urban school district where issues like equity and fairness and creating education for some of our neediest people are the central questions of the work that this district is doing. Being able to hold that tension in your head between what do we need to do as a system to be equitable and what are the individual needs of the 57,000 families across the system. That's the sort of hairy ball that we're always trying to untangle.
Systems are just made up of people. Everybody who works here is actually gunning for the same goal. They all want the same thing, which is, quality education for children in this city. The challenges arise because systems have a lot of legacy components to them, which come from previous eras where values may not have been the same as they are now. And rebuilding systems according to new values takes a long, long time. And then also even things like rebuilding legislation and political will to be oriented towards supporting these new values also takes a long, long time. Our perspective is you have to do both at the same time. And I think one of the reasons that we are able to do the work that we're doing right now with this urban district has to do in no small part because of the personal relationships that we've started to cultivate.
So we started by doing in-depth research at the central office level, doing learning with the leadership from the superintendent and his executive team through to some of the departments that make central office tick, and starting to understand, how does this district operate from the top down? What are its values and aspirations and strategies? And then we have been sort of moving down across the layers of the system. So we just spent about 6 weeks conducting similar ethnographies in schools, doing shadows of principals, sitting in classrooms with teachers, sitting in the cafeteria and eating lunch with students, and conducting that human-centered research, but at multiple altitudes across this system.
So we did our primary and secondary research, and then after that we spent about a month doing what we call analysis. And in that analysis process, we try to think about information in different ways. We try to develop a generalized set of observations that we will then collect into a set of insights, and those insights are meant to cut across the entire system, vertically as well as horizontally. So things that are relevant not only to central office, but also to the school themselves, and actually to the experience of the student. So once we've collected these insights, those insights become, we then take those and distill those into a set of what we call opportunity areas. So we believe, for example, within the district here, that there are 4 or 5 opportunity areas where if we design interventions within those opportunity areas, they're going to have a multiplier effect on changing the system and having an impact across scale.
Some of the findings that we reported back to the district are around a real sense of isolation that exists kind of at every level, from the central office folks who feel very removed from the on-the-ground work all the way through to families who can feel really disconnected from the educational machine that their children are participating in, to teachers who will say things like, you know, I go in my classroom at 8:30, I close the door, and then it's just me and the kids. And that sense of isolation in its worst case can result in sometimes competition within the system, which is really detrimental to doing this broad, transformative work at scale.
One of the insights that we bubbled up from our observations and analysis was that the principal is the primary agent of change. So a lot of our work and research has been understanding the different roles and responsibilities that live within a principal, and how challenging that job is, and how we can alleviate some of the pressure on them as both the primary agent of change and also the pinch point at which change needs to occur as a result.
The next steps for that project are digging much deeper into the mechanics of central office. This is the really unglamorous work of, I think, system design. So, for example, we're starting the conversation with the special ed department about what does it mean to be triaging calls? What does their phone tree look and feel like? What's their protocol around responding to families? What sort of questions can be answered at what level of individual within the department? And so untangling things like that are the next steps in this process, so that we can then design a process that will help folks who are calling into special ed or transportation or what have you have an experience that actually helps them. That said, I think that this is work that districts can absolutely be doing on their own. They don't need some fancy designers to swoop in and do it with them.
What we're really focused on is actually enabling the district and the players in the district, so that, I mean really specifically principals, teachers, network superintendents, people who work in central office, to design their own projects. And the reason that it's important that we really just facilitate them being able to design their own projects is this idea of inception is really important, that they have ownership over these ideas, because that's the only way it'll be sticky, and that they'll be interested in carrying it forward.